John Cena cooked all of y'all, and I am not taking any of that smoke. I have not been watching nearly long enough to catch any of that heat, but whatever you guys did to him back in the day, this is on you, but I am happy to talk about it. If you don't know, I've been watching wrestling for 2 years, so I have none of the history of John Cena or how we got to this point, but it has been fascinating from my perspective to see your reactions to it and to kind of piece together what the relationship was like between the WWE fan base and John Cena all those years ago. Before we get into what you guys said, I just kind of want to give my general perspective from an outsider looking in. And when I look at this situation, it was really interesting. I've immediately got to give credit to the Belgium crowd for selling that Cena was a heel. I was a little worried that going over to the European crowd, they would just, at first sight of a John Cena for the first time in who knows how long, just pop and cheer for him. But they understood the assignment. They booed him like crazy, and it really did feel immediately like John Cena was a heel. Even bringing back the John Cena sucks part of his theme, I thought that was freaking awesome. But seeing the crowd continue to take him down, seeing the people on Twitter, people in the Discord, everybody really actually reacting and emotionally to John Cena calling out the fandom and calling out the crowd from his past 25 years of service to the industry and the WWE, and just completely just squatting over it. It was really interesting to see this like childhood hero of so many of you finally take this strong heel turn and just flip you all the bird and break up with you. That was insane to see. Like, it really did feel like so many of you were actually like still surprised that it was even happening, and some of you actually got really actually upset that he was doing it, like feeling like it was unjustified. And that's not for me to say if it was or was not, but let's see what you guys said. Heel John Cena is gold. Makes me sad he wasn't a heel in his prime. It would have been gold. His crash out on the fans and that promo was one of the best of his career. It had a sense of realism to it, and after what the fans put him through, one of the most justified heel turns ever. Was it? That's something I kind of don't fully understand. I thought it's been a while since the fans were against Cena. Now, I understand a long time ago that there was this Cena wins, lol, Super Cena, five moves of doom, I believe it is called. But I could have sworn, like, I feel like since I've been watching, again, for not that long, but still, since I've been watching, last couple of years, anytime Cena's music hits, everybody freaks out, and he's seemingly got a good relationship with the crowd. So it really did feel kind of strange that this was his motivation. It feels kind of strange that it was like a history F the crowd type of motivation for the heel turn, because that's not what we got at Elimination Chamber. We weren't given a lot at Elimination Chamber. We were given enough that we could interpret that The Rock and Cena were teaming up. For The Rock to look at him, give him the throat cut, and then for Cena to act, it feels like it was something more to do with something internal and not necessarily the fan base. So it was really strange for me to go this whole promo. While it was a great promo and I loved listening to him talk, I loved when Cody came out. Their interaction was fantastic. I was having a blast watching it, but looking back in hindsight, it was really strange that was the motivation he came out with, to the point where it almost kind of didn't make sense. But I guess I don't have to take your guys' word for it. We can discuss this in the comments. Was it that bad between the fans and Cena that this kind of a turn would make sense? I don't know if you know this, but there's actually a free tier in the Patreon where we put a ton of content in general, but every month you get a bunch of stuff for totally free. So if you want to go check out the Patreon without paying a dime, just see what it's like over there. I update the free videos every single month, and if you ever want to upgrade later and watch a ton of wrestling matches with me and my fiance and the rest of the community, you could always upgrade at any point. Check it out. Link will be down below. Back to the video. John's promo, while scripted, also definitely had a sliver of reality to it. Even though he does genuinely love us fans behind his character, he also probably used his heel turn as an excuse to get some things off his chest that he's wanted to say for 20 years. Okay, so this kind of answers a little bit of my question, that it sounds like there may have been something from the viewer perspective that maybe there was a reason that Cena would do that. Like, I could sound so foolish right now. I apologize. I can't go back and watch every interaction between Cena and the fans that you guys got to see in your childhood, but I just feel like I remember seeing some like Cena sucks boost, but you guys have made it sound like he never actually went heel. So was it more of like a Roman Reigns situation where he was being pushed? I'm talking about the big dog Roman Reigns version, where was Cena getting constantly pushed and the fans just weren't grasping it and kind of rejecting it? I just don't feel like I got that. Whenever people talk about the previous years of John Cena, that's not usually what I feel like I hear. So this again, this kind of caught me off guard, but I can only take your guys' word for it here. Loved Cena and Cody's segment. Wish it got a little more personal and Cena would explain why he joined The Rock. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Cena would not only go a little bit more direct on Cody Rhodes specifically, because it sure seemed like when you look back at Elimination Chamber that John Cena had something not just against the fans but against Cody Rhodes. When that kind of an attack supported by The Rock was just, it felt like it was way more internal than something going on with the relationship with the fans. And I didn't feel like we did get a ton between Cody and Cena to justify that. Now, granted, we have a lot of time left in terms of opportunities for this to grow between now and Mania and to get more of an explanation. But I'm going to agree with you here that I also would have liked any sort of a promo that also kind of hinted at why maybe we joined The Rock here, because I feel like I'm stressing this a lot. That's not what we got at Elimination Chamber. We got at Elimination Chamber a clear sign that there is an alliance between Cena and The Rock, and it sounded like Cena had taken an opportunity that was given to him by The Rock. So this opening promo, while enjoyable in a vacuum and very good in a vacuum, doesn't quite make a ton of sense to me when I also compare it to the very last thing we saw from John Cena, which was the actual heel turn. Cena was the reason I stopped watching WWE. Super Cena winning all the time, no new music or attire because that's what we all wanted and expected. It's actually the perfect play to say F you to the fans. Excited to see what's next because there is a lot of meat on the bone. Okay, see, this is what I was looking for. Someone who does have that sort of relationship where they remember apparently walking away from watching the product because of how much he was over pushed. So my assumption then would be that he was maybe squashing or ruining any other superstars that you really wanted to see get a push or rise to the top. And every time it seemed like they would, maybe they just ran into an unbeatable Cena and then they were done. That was the end of their ride. So I can see why that would be extremely frustrating. And I want to agree, especially with this part you're talking about. I was also somebody who was like, oh man, what if he gets new heel music? Wonder what he's going to wear. Dude came out with the same music, same Tron, same outfit. The color was a little bit toned down and less like fruity pebbly. I've heard you guys use that term. I think that's actually a perfect play. And he said it in the promo that he was like, no, you want a new song, you want a new outfit, you want to do all of this. No, you don't get that. I've given you what you wanted for 25 years. I'm not doing it anymore. So I feel like as much as I would have liked to have seen it, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I mean, it's the same logic that you guys have told me during matches where like you'll see the heel go for the table and then they'll put it back because they're the one that you don't want to give the fans what they want. Or sometimes you'll see way less flashy movesets from heels because they don't want them to be the one to get the pop from the crowd. So yeah, it just plays into the logic that I feel like I've been taught about wrestling for all this time now. Potentially hot take. I don't believe Cena's reason for turning heel made sense. It would have in 2012 when he was the height of Cena sucks, but he's been pretty universally respected for several years now. He comes back once a year to tell the fans all his success is because of them. If he felt so disrespected, why did he keep showing up when he had no obligation? He spent an entire career saying things like, it doesn't matter if you boo me or cheer me because you cared enough to make the noise. If he cared so much, why wait until now to turn? If we're going with the logic that he's been disingenuous this whole time and he's always secretly harbored these bitter feelings, it's going to be very awkward when he turns back face and has to be like, oh, I lied and I'm the good guy from 20 years ago, but I'm a super good guy now, don't worry. Him being so desperate to win the world title, he'd do anything to get it is much more believable. Cena should believe he's the good guy even when he isn't. This felt like such a generic, contrived you people promo that was only good if one didn't have the context of nearly 25 years of John Cena character work. Okay, see, now we're getting into it. This is where I was kind of starting to feel a similar way. Now, obviously, I don't have the context personally that you guys do, but I also felt like it was strange to take this approach, especially if we still have this belief that maybe by the end of the year, by the time he is officially done with this farewell tour, that there is a chance he goes back to being babyface. It's a very, very strange approach to flip the bird to all the fans if that's maybe what you're planning on doing before the end of it. Now, that's just a guess. We have no idea, but yeah, him just kind of throwing it out there that it's all the fans' fault, even though he didn't have to come back in recent years. Like a lot of it isn't quite adding up from like a logical standpoint. And like I said a little bit earlier, this promo was fun and was good in a vacuum, but I feel like the more you peel back the logic behind it, it kind of starts to fall apart a bit for me. I still loved the promo. I love the opening of Raw. I think the crowd made it that much cooler. I felt like that segment was, again, in a vacuum, perfect. I really, really hope that we do get some more elaboration of more motivation and not just a this is me against the fans type of heel turn, because that would just feel like it threw out everything we saw at Elimination Chamber. And then I feel like it puts him in a weird spot long term, unless they plan on having him actually retire as a heel. I understand he's popular and I even sometimes get behind his promo ability, but Jey Uso does not feel ready to be in a main event position. He had a 2-minute match against Theory and somehow botched his finisher, only to fail a dive a few seconds later. I get people botch, but come on. I can't defend it. I agree. I can't. I mean, listen, I love Jey Uso. I love the character. And part of the reason that I really got invested in Jey was from when I was watching was really a heart and soul part of the Bloodline storyline, specifically between Jey and Roman. And I really got behind this version of Jey that was breaking off from Roman. And it took me a little time, and I did really get behind. Eventually, I got behind this yeet portion of his gimmick. I was always behind the main event portion. I really like the idea of him trying to be his own guy and really try to be able to find that success on his own. I'm for all of that. I like doing the motion. I like the entrance. I love all of it. But yeah, that sucked. Like, straight up, that sucked. And the fact that it was such a small moment, even here's the thing, even if that went well, even if he hit he did like a total of 2 moves, 3 moves, it's a squash match, whatever, which is its own problem, by the way. I don't feel like you got to do Austin Theory like that. I'm an Austin Theory lover. I want to see something good for Austin Theory sometime in the future, probably not in the near future, but eventually. We did not need to do that to Austin Theory. I feel like maybe Grayson Waller could have taken that and it wouldn't affect his character at all. But I feel like Austin Theory, between the two of them, is at least a little bit more respected in the ring and for like character-wise in the ring. So that sucked on its own. But if you're gonna put a squash match against Austin Theory, who is already proven to be a very good worker, I have even witnessed in my short time of seeing Austin Theory correct other people's mistakes mid-move to try to salvage something. If you can't have a 2-minute match with Austin Theory without having multiple mistakes that are very obvious mistakes, and I'm not even trying to come at it from a perspective of, wow, this is bad. This is like, dude, I couldn't do any of that crap, but that's fine. I'm just saying, from a viewer perspective, when that's the whole thing, it's so hard to actually walk out of that segment and be like, and still feel hype for Jey, because all I want to do is be hyped for Jey. I'm excited for him. I can't wait to see. I hope he raises up the title at the end of WrestleMania. But man, even as someone who really, really supports Jey and really likes Jey, that's a tough segment to walk out of and feel good about it. And I've tried to be a Jey defender, but between him and Gunther, thankfully Gunther seems like it's impossible for him to have a bad match in general. But man, it's a bummer. I'm not mad at him. I'm not saying he sucks. I'm just bummed as someone who walked into that really hoping to see, hey, maybe this is the next chapter in a way that we see Jey elevate himself and continue to try to make this match against Gunther leading into WrestleMania more interesting. And I just felt let down. I get it. Mistakes happen. That sucks. And hopefully he bounces back from it. I'm sure he will, but I can't fault anybody for getting upset at, the guy who won the Rumble, who is getting a potential main event against Gunther for a top title in the company. Yeah, I think you have every right to walk out of that feeling pretty bummed about it. I like Rhea, but the way they've inserted her into this Mania feud with Ia and Bianca feels forced, in my opinion. I think that's kind of the point, no? Isn't that kind of what a heel would do? I believe we are entering an era where Rhea Ripley is going to be going back to being a heel. So maybe I should start with that. That's where I feel like this is going. I think that's why it didn't really bother me. When I look at the triple threat, I don't see Bianca Belair being an actual heel, even though she did get a little bit of a booing from Belgium. I think that's more of a result of the pushing of Io in the face in the previous week. Io is clearly over with everybody, and they're kind of using Io as the person, the competitor who's being definitely looked down upon by her opponents. And then there's Rhea Ripley, who was already previously, fairly recently, a heel, and people still love her as a heel. So I think that's where we're going here, instead of just having 3 baby faces and you hope the crowd cheers for all of them. And what better way to get yourself into a match that you straight up lost, by the way. You didn't really earn any right to be in this situation than to just go and sign your name on a contract and somehow making that put you in a triple threat WrestleMania match. It feels forced, but it's forced in character. It's forced by Rhea, which is I feel like that's just a heel move. Ludwig Kaiser has the potential to be a top star if booked right. He has the in-ring ability and charisma to carry a brand. That's what I'm talking about. That's my guy. I have loved Kaiser for since the first few weeks I started watching WWE. His just like cartoon villain walk, the way he carries himself, I fully believe he is Ludwig Kaiser. I totally agree. I don't know if I'm ready to say can carry a brand like right now, maybe like down the road, obviously, but I could see him being that guy holding a US title or holding an IC title and just not letting it go and just refusing to I could see him doing the thing where he just wins kind of in scummy ways, not necessarily always through interference, but finding ways to get behind the ref or evading, kind of being a little bit of a cowardly heel. Totally with you. Love Kaiser. Okay, but why is Austin Theory defeated by a crossbody? What? Bro, I think that was a spear. And again, I don't want to have this conversation. I'm a Jay defender, but bro, I gotta sit on the bench for this one, Jay. You have to make up for it next week and do something, because that is a real tough day for even us Jay fanboys that want to defend you every single week. That's tough. So you're on your own. And Austin Theory, I agree. That shouldn't have happened to Austin Theory. He deserves way better. People are criticizing American fans for not being lively nor chanting like European audiences. But if you look back 10 years ago, they were. They would scream 1 fall during match intros, 2 after near falls, and many other clever things. WWE discouraged that and killed that. I'm going to you guys. Is that true? I wasn't going to add this one. I was reading. I was like, believe me, there's a lot of you that were either hating on the crowd or loving on the crowd. I was going to pick a few to talk about it. But that last line, actually, that made me really curious. Is this true? Did the WWE somehow discourage the crowds being overactive in matches? Because that sounds like mind-blowing to me, especially now with how much they praise the European crowds, or basically any non-North American crowd. They praise this kind of behavior. So I feel like I just figured it's a Vince thing, isn't it? It was a Vince thing. Never mind. Yeah, it was a Vince. Let the wrestlers speak. I love loud crowds, but at some point it feels like they take it too far. This is going to be my least favorite part of this entire thing, because I'm going to agree with you on one point only. And I think the whole crowd thing, I love loud crowds. I do. I love when they do I love the only two, the simple mot deux, the AJ Styles thing, the phenomenal thing. I love all that. And I don't even really mind when it's while the wrestlers are speaking, unless it's a what chant. I think that's a little weird. But the only time during the show where I did myself feel like, okay, crowd, I think, hold on, let's chill, was when my favorite wrestler was out there, and is when they would not stop singing Seth Rollins' song. Listen, I love it. I see all of you that hate the song, and I've seen the gifs in the Discord of taking your headphones off. No, screw it. I love the song. I love Seth Rollins. That's my guy. Burn it down. I don't even fully know the story behind that slogan, but he says it, so I say it too. And yeah, they just wouldn't stop singing the song, to the point where I'm like, at first I'm like, yeah, keep going. Yeah, piss them off. And then it went for like another full minute to 2 minutes. And I'm kind of like the only one going like, all right, you know what, maybe I really can't defend this anymore. You went a little too long. That's all I'm saying. Honestly, the crowds overseas can get out of hand with the loud chants. Just a bit too much in times where less is more. The Cena promo was great, however. It's kind of wild. I'm not coming at you, by the way. It is kind of wild how, like, you go to these American crowds and I see a lot of comments and a lot of submissions like this where the U.S. crowd just sucks. And then we go over to the European crowd and they send it. They full send. And then the comments start coming in about how annoying that is. So clearly there's either a balance in the middle where we would all be happy, or, you know, maybe he's just never going to please everyone. That's probably the real answer. But I don't really agree with this too much. I can see, I guess, if there's something else you want to hear, but as long as it's not preventing the wrestlers from doing their thing, it's definitely not interfering with matches. I don't think it really messed up any promos. They kind of got a little bit involved with Cody and Cena, but I've seen a little bit of when wrestlers are talking about how they're supposed to interact with the crowd. When they hear a chant, they're kind of like supposed to stop and like turn and acknowledge it so it continues. So if they're doing that, I feel like that's a sign to me that they want it and they encourage it in that moment, at least the wrestler that's in the ring. So while it might be bothering you, the viewer, it sounds like it's what the wrestler typically in that moment is looking for. They're looking to be the guy that was in the ring when the crowd wouldn't stop cheering. So you're only going to see them encouraging it. I think it's just going to continue, but it's if you really hate it that much, they're not going to be in Europe that long. You're just going to have to endure it for a couple more weeks, because I don't think we're done here in the loud crowd. It's astounding the star power Penta has already. Everywhere he goes, he is a highlight. Been a huge fan of him even when he was in AEW, and it warms my heart to see him get the love and reactions he does. I'm really excited for the reunion of the Lucha Brothers when Phoenix comes in, and I'm also excited for a potential Penta IC title reign. I'm with you. Penta, I didn't know anything about him when he came in here. Everybody was really hyping it up, but I've not only gotten to see him put on these bangers on current day WWE, but we've seen a little bit of Penta over on the Patreon. And in case you are in the Patreon or you want to go over there and you want to check it out, just look up the name Penta over on the Patreon. You'll find a particular match in Lucha Underground. All I'm going to say is I doubt we're going to see it in current day WWE, but I would love to see some rematches that we saw in a particular Lucha Underground match over on the Patreon. I'd love to see maybe a reunion of some sort of a rematch over on current day WWE. Probably not going to happen for very obvious reasons once you see it, but man, that would be cool. But Penta is dope, dude. Like, he gets the crowd all behind him. The crowd mixing in the Cero Miero, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but you know what I mean. The Zero Fear thing into a chant. That was so cool. So shout out European crowd, Belgium crowd for making Penta just look like a rock star. Because I don't think many others will, I want to talk about the women's triple threat match. While I think it's very interesting that we got Rhea, Bianca, and Io, it bothers me that they are making Io like lesser in the storytelling. I get that she will have her moment when she steps up to Bianca and Rhea, but the whole idea of the champ being the weakest individual isn't an exciting prospect for me. Io has gotten to the point in her career where she is no longer the underdog. So I don't think that she is necessarily being built up as the actual underdog. I think the story is just being told in a way that Rhea and Bianca think that she is the underdog. That might not make sense. I hope that makes sense, but I don't think we are supposed to believe that Io is the underdog. I just think it's kind of like a tortoise in the hare situation where they're sleeping. They're the bunny rabbits. Bianca and Rhea are just sleeping on her when we know that they shouldn't. We know that what Io is capable of. That's why most of us love Io, and we popped so hard when she won that championship. And if you mix in the fact that Io technically got an advantage in that match with a little bit of a distraction from Bianca, I'm not getting into it. I understand Rhea kind of started, but my point is, from their perspective, it's like Rhea only lost that match because Bianca got involved. There is going to be this little bit of like, oh, Io, you just got it because of that. Just hang on to it. I'm going to come get it back from you. And I agree. There is going to be a moment where she steps up and she probably ends up retaining to make her look like a superstar, like beating two of the top women in the entire company. But I wouldn't get too hung up on the idea of her being built as the underdog, because I don't think we are supposed to see it that way. I think we are supposed to be the ones going, hey, you guys are really underestimating one of the best in the world, and you're going to find out. Let me know if you guys like when I do videos like this. I don't ever really want to do it after every Raw and every SmackDown, but sometimes I like just being able to sit and talk with you guys about some really cool episode that we just watched. So if you enjoyed this, make sure you like the video. Make sure you let me know in the comments and just be like, hey, I like this video. You should do more. Thank you to the patrons who are flying up the screen. I will see you guys in the Discord, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.